on CVM TV.
So me just want to tell them, say, Simmer, who got the keys to the bimmer? Oh my, real reggae lover, Zaga.
Enjoy the things that matter. Family, friends, and the keys to your home.
The time by NHT is
8 o'clock.
Keep on talking to them for a little while until you're cool, man.
Witness to the people have a voice inside of them that talk to them, you know. That is a voice that these people must listen to. Because in everything you're going to do, there's a wrong way and a right way. And if you listen good, you will know the right way.
True.
You know? Because there is a voice inside talking to everyone. Seeing?
True.
Seeing.
Steve knows style.
That jacket! When was you in the Temptations? You are my alter ego.
And Steve gives in to his own temptation. Family Feud.
Brought to you by We Are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
SLB empowers my future.
Hey you know all the people in your business?
You should take advantage of CVM TV's unbeatable small business advertising package. Trust me.
And get your goods and services in front of your customers today.
For $150,000, you get a high-quality professional commercial.
Plus 20 prime-time commercial spots.
That's massive exposure at a fraction of the cost.
Including on the #1 morning show in Jamaica, Sunrise.
So don't wait. Call us on 658-208-5377 and see your business goals happen right here on CVM Television.
Part 1 of a 3-part series that CVM TV will be presenting to you on the state of the country's roads, precisely the pothole-riddled nature of much of what we drive on daily here as motorists in Jamaica. We're not just indulging in lamentations looking at the fact that the roads are badly pockmarked, but looking at the science behind road construction and how potholes can be remedied for a longer term period than has been evident in Jamaica for much of our modern history. So potholes get the treatment here on Lead Story, and you'll hear these solutions from the experts. Welcome to Lead Story on this Monday. It is a good day to be alive, isn't each one? My name is George Davis. I've assembled an August panel that I will introduce in no particular order. Colin Porter, he's the president of the Jamaica Institution of Engineers. He's a registered professional engineer and a former member of the board of the Professional Engineers Registration Entity. And of course, he's a project management expert. Good evening, sir.
Evening to you,
Good.
George.
Carlton Hay is a registered professional civil and geotechnical engineer with over 3 decades of experience in infrastructure, serving as managing director at NHL Engineering and lecturer at the UWI. His work spans major projects like the Southern Coastal Highway and the Portmore Road rehabilitation, specializing in geotechnical investigations, material testing, and structural design. Evening, sir.
Evening.
Good. And Chris Burgess, Dr. Chris Burgess, a member of the Jamaica Institution of Engineer Council, a registered professional civil engineer in the categories of civil and environmental engineering for over 25 years, and a former board member of the Professional Engineers Registration Board. He has extensive expertise in private and public infrastructure development projects, including Palisadoes Main Road, Port Royal Street, and there is much to his CV that is worth mentioning. Evening,
Thank you,
sir. All right.
David Allen.
David Allen, a real estate professional and civil engineering consultant and lecturer in the Faculty of Engineering at the University of the West Indies, Mona. So, David, thank you for joining the gentlemen here, and it's good to have you.
Thank you.
All right. If we should get right to it and start from Chris to the farthest left, the issue of Jamaica's roads and why they break so easily.
As in, why they break so easily?
Yes. Why is it that after a road rehabilitation, new carpet lane, a shower rain or a man washes his face at a spot, it cracks, it breaks easily, pothole within weeks of a new surface being laid?
That particular problem, George, have to do with the quality of construction. That, for the most part, in my estimation, is going unsupervised, by sufficient without technical oversight. And so you have work being done, but it's not necessarily using the right material and the right equipment. We see several examples. There was one in Portland where the carpet literally unraveled. Mm-hmm. Weeks after it was laid. There was another case in Westmoreland as well. Just a lack of technical oversight. That's the problem. Lack of technical oversight.
What's the argument to be made about the quality of material that we use? Is it that we are putting inferior material in a position to withstand the traffic and the pressure from the traffic that, of course, attends to vehicles traveling on a road surface?
Well, I would think the quality of the material is important, but also very importantly, George, is the way in which it is applied. There are specifications to the road design in terms of the quality material to be used, the amount of material, and the way it is to be applied. So it's kind of difficult sometimes just to single out and say the material isn't at the right quality. Mm-hmm. It could have to do with the way how it is laid, the amount that is laid,
the equipment that is used,
the equipment that is used, etc. So there are several factors, and there are ways to test the materials before they are actually used. Yeah. And so I think we have to consider all factors before singling out that one aspect, because we may end up blaming the material when that is not the real issue.
Exactly. It's just a prod to get an overview as to what you think the issue is. And I'll ask you the same question, David. Overall, what do you think is the problem we are grappling with here as we go to the break?
Well, I think we are grappling with a problem in terms of, yes, lack of maintenance, and the lack of maintenance, because really, in terms of the road construction, the design is good, right? The design engineers cannot be at fault. The construction aspect is generally typical across the world. But really what needs to happen now is that the quality of the material must be maintained in terms of what you put down, right? So what you put down must be maintained and it must be monitored. And that is really sometimes a part of the problem, but also because when it comes to the point where maintenance must happen, it must happen. When it gets to a pothole, it means that you have gone far down the wicket. distress signals have been shown long ago.
Yeah.
And so the maintenance aspect must be carried on, and I'm suspecting that one of the big challenges with that is the budget set for it.
Yeah, pressure bursts pipes and pressure and wear and tear breaks even the best laid road surfaces. But when those road surfaces aren't laid properly and laid with inferior material, then you can use your imagination to see what will happen. The break comes upon us now, and from the next break, we will give you a perspective just to set the context, not just for this evening's discussion, but for the series of 3 programs we're doing on this very important issue, potholes in Jamaica, and how they affect quality of life and are one of the biggest pain points of many that Jamaicans have to deal with daily in this country.
Jamaica, it reach! Introducing the Mother's Rewards app. The same mother's food you love, now at your fingertips. Sign up easy and get a free patty. Earn points whenever you visit any select Mother's location and redeem those same points for discounts later on. Order your favorites for pickup or delivery. No long lines. Plus, win daily to win prizes and discounts. Yes, daily chances to win. No need for say none more. Download the Mother's Rewards app now. Mothers, loving every bite.
Thanks to my Prime Minister for this opportunity. For me to be a homeowner.
I was living in a terrible condition for so many years. Thank you again.
We just try to make life goes on with the little that we have.
It is the aspiration of the government. It is what the government tries to do every day, to lift people out of poverty into a decent life. The new social housing program is a key component of the social safety net.
As I've always said, this is probably one of the most fulfilling programs for me, because you literally see the transformation of people's lives.
A staple of the Jamaican newscast is the familiar sight of frustrated citizens taking to the streets in protest. Placards raised, voices lifted, demanding urgent attention on the deplorable state of the nation's roads.
Mr. Prime Minister, you know we put you in the chair for airport as the man. So therefore we are look to you as the man to give you a service on the road.
For decades, bad roads have been a relentless burden on Jamaican commuters, a daily test of endurance and patience. The craters and cracks that lace our thoroughfares have inspired social commentators, musicians and artists to capture the agony of navigating these treacherous paths.
The other day I was driving, and as I come off of the toll, I drop in a big, everlasting, nasty, dirty, thinking pothole. My vehicle lands so hard, I feel it in my chest, like me drop from the top of Mount Everest. Tire bust, rim bend up, and me end up a spin when I don't have to fix my front end. Yo, me want to know right now why and how we have so much pothole to blow. Whoa!
Car tires, bumpers and suspensions have fallen victim to the unforgiving terrain, while motorists and passengers alike endure the frustration of traffic delays made worse by the painstaking task of dodging gaping ditches. But what exactly is responsible for the dire state of our roads? Some point to climate change. Jamaica's roads are primarily made of asphalt, a material highly sensitive to extreme weather conditions. Rising temperatures, exacerbated by global warming, cause asphalt to soften, leading to depressions and ruts, especially in high-traffic areas. The frequent expansion and contraction due to temperature fluctuations further weaken road integrity, making cracks inevitable. Then there's the rain, arguably the most obvious culprit. Heavy downpours seep into the asphalt, eroding its foundation and accelerating the formation of cracks and potholes. Flash floods, another growing concern, can wash away entire roadbeds, triggering collapses and structural failures. And when roads lack proper drainage, the damage compounds even faster. But climate alone is not to be blamed. The types of vehicles that traverse our roads also play a significant role. Heavy-duty trucks exert immense pressure on asphalt, accelerating wear and tear. Overloaded vehicles in particular place excessive strain on bridges and elevated roads, weakening them over time. Even everyday driving habits contribute to road deterioration. Braking, sudden acceleration, and the weight of heavy machinery all take a toll on the pavement. So what can be done? A well-constructed road built with a deep, well-compacted base is essential for durability. The thicker the pavement, the better it distributes vehicle weight, reducing stress and improving resistance to water damage. Best practices suggest anywhere from 3 inches of asphalt for light traffic areas to 6 or more inches for major roadways and commercial zones. Yet, despite these standards, many of Jamaica's roads continue to crumble under pressure. Now, as Jamaica embarks on a new wave of infrastructure development, billions have been pumped into roadwork under projects like Spark and Reach. One question, however, lingers. Will these initiatives be truly sustainable? Do we need to rethink our approach to road construction? Is it a matter of enforcement, ensuring that best practices are upheld? Or should we take an entirely different route, exploring alternatives like concrete roads? Tonight on Lead Story Prime, we dissect the issue, speak with leading experts, and ask the hard questions about the future of Jamaica's roads. Stay with us. A staple of...
Yeah, so Nika Lewis there capturing essentially the underlying causes just from, I don't want to say layman's perspective, but just from what motorists see and people making an educated guess as to the cause for the deterioration in the road structures, especially very, very soon after they've been laid fresh. We've invited the experts here into our studios here at CVM TV to give you a real perspective as to what the situation is, and beyond that, what the fix is, what is the alternative to what has been done time and again to try to address the situation of bad roads. All right, I did him some, I did some injustice to him earlier. Carlton Hay is on Zoom. He's the only one who is not in the studio, so he didn't get the chance to give the opening salvo. Dr. Hay, it wasn't spite and it wasn't purpose. It was just a slip. So I ask you now, for your overall perspective on the state of play where road maintenance, road conditions are in this country called Jamaica.
Thank you. You see, there are a lot of different reasons why our roads are in that state. For the most part, drainage has been the main problem. Maintenance of our drainage. If you notice, most of those potholes are formed on roads that are either very steep or very flat. So the scour of water has been a problem. These potholes typically are formed fairly early through cracks, and a small crack can deteriorate to a major pothole. So we need to address this situation urgently and early, and that comes to maintenance. The quality of material can be a problem, and in terms of the supervision of how the road is actually constructed. So typically you'll have somebody there that's supposed to know something about road construction, an engineer, to supervise the work. Sometimes you don't have them. The conditions under which the roads are constructed can be a major problem too. For example, if you're laying asphalt when it's raining or overcast, that can be a problem. So these kind of decisions has to be taken during the time when construction is going on. In the past, I think the roads were a little bit under-designed in terms of estimating the type of traffic loads and the requisite amount of asphaltic concrete that is required. I think we used to have a standard of using 1.5 inch asphalt concrete, and that might not serve the purpose depending on the class of road.
Yeah, here. Thank you for that opening, Doctor. You have to take the break now. I'll ask you on the panel a Hail Mary question in keeping with, well, today is Super Bowl Monday after Super Bowl Sunday. It's a Hail Mary question for the four of you after this break.
Campbell, CVM, see it happen.
Welcome to the ZZ Lottery Draw for 8:20 p.m. Monday, February 10th, 2025. The one-drop winning number is 28. The hat-trick winning numbers are 0, 8, 3. The four-play winning numbers are 8, 7, 8, 8. The Lucky Day Lotto winning numbers are 5, 16, 7, 20, 9. The fireball is white. Thank you for playing with Izizi.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for $1,000 time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Despite the issue of bad roads being such a serious problem for many Jamaicans, you will be hard-pressed to find an opinion poll, especially round about election time in Jamaica, whether local elections or general elections, where the back data puts road conditions among the most serious concerns of voters going into an election. It's usually the big C's: crime, corruption, then of course the economy and other things, but roads will be way down the totem, yet people bleat about road conditions every single day. We've assembled a panel of experts here on CVM TV to talk about the state of the nation roads, why they fracture, why they break so easily. Why is it that our roads in some instances seem to be made of glass, and what can be done over the medium to long term to improve the quality of the road surfaces and give taxpayers more bang for the buck. And the issue of bang for bucks will loom large over these discussions because our experts are agreed, based on what they've written and said elsewhere, that the National Works Agency is severely underfunded and doesn't have near enough to do what is required. I see Chris Burgess nodding in the distance because he has made that point forcefully. So here's the Hail Mary questions, gentlemen. I have 3 gentlemen in studio and I have 1 on Zoom. Has there ever been, I'm starting with you again, to my far left, Chris, has there ever been a golden age for road maintenance in Jamaica?
Okay, it certainly would be a little bit before my professional career, but I've come to understand from speaking to the elders in our society, or professional society, that the golden era was certainly in the PWD department days. There were issues.
PWD being Public Works Department, the forerunner to the National Works Agency.
Right, forerunner. where several of them have made the point that even the road from Kingston to Westmoreland was well maintained, and several notable main roads, and I think they fell apart after the PWD. I think we can all agree that what's happening now with the works agency in the last decade or so, it's not acceptable. The outsourcing of routine maintenance isn't working. So you ask about, was there a golden era? It was certainly, I think, in the PWD department, based on my own personal recollection and recollection of others.
Colin, do you agree with that?
I agree with that, but I want to put it a little bit of context to it as well, because I remember as a youngster growing up seeing the yellow PWD trucks with their crews frequently as an issue happened. Sometimes weren't even sure what the issues were. They were out there repairing. To the point where people used to make joke that they're just patching road that don't need patch just to keep busy. But the roads were well maintained. If we put in a context, this we're talking about from in the 70s, thereabout. Certainly for me, it perhaps would have been around before. We didn't have the volume of traffic.
Nowhere near.
And issues nowhere near.
Yeah.
And yet the consistency in maintenance was much more. So as we saw in the clip earlier, with more vehicles on the road, heavier vehicles, poor driving practices, etc., then it would require an adjustment both in design and frequency of maintenance, right? So I think we have to focus on those two areas now. Climate change was also mentioned. And I've always said we've always had climate issues, but just different intensities.
But before we go into that, I just want to get a chord among the four of you, or perhaps a dissonance about the golden age. So both of you agreed the PWD era. David, what say you?
Yes, I would agree as well. I mean, I'm in full agreement. And of course, as you see there, your colleague journalists have done a very good research in indicating issues in terms of best practices. And I would go then to indicate that, of course, as the population of vehicle increase, right, and in terms
we have several 100,000 cars now, which we didn't have before.
And not specifically the cars only, but the heavy vehicles, which gives a much greater, deleterious effect on road surfaces. And so that comes back now to design, best practices in design. I know it was mentioned about something about 6 inches, but in my own calculations, anything below 4 inches of asphalt may not work, right, based on the kind of impact that the heavy equipment will have.
Dr. Hay, are you also agreed that the Public Works Department era, which would have ended, my producer is going to do the research to tell me when PWD changed to NWA. I know that Vander Palmer was the communications man at PWD before it turned to NWA, and it would have been in the very early 90s. I'm an 80s baby, so I remember the PWD vaguely, but he'll tell me, are you agreed that that was the golden era of road maintenance in the country?
Oh, certainly. Because the PWD had its own equipment, and they were able to mobilize quickly to address matters before they deteriorate to the point where we're having big potholes. And as Colin did say, the issue of loading, frequency of traffic loading, has changed and significantly affected the state of the roads. My other colleague, Mr. Hallin, it is mentioned the asphaltic concrete thickness, but that's a kind of slippery slope in the sense that is so dependent on the class of road that we're dealing with. And but one of the main things that has changed during that period, I think during the Public Works region time, the roads were made of ballast, which was what they called ballast at the time, was crushed stone, larger stone, as a good base foundation. The marl by itself can be a problem if it has too much fine material in it. And that is one of the major problems we have with its ability to carry the load, because if you don't have more stable crushed material that allows and facilitates drainage within the base material, it's easier to deteriorate under loading.
Well, here's the thing, gentlemen. Here's the thing as we go to the break. You know, we have to take into account how much, well, mechanized the world and the country has become, and how many more people are now able to command their own motorized transport. And I say this to you, Chris, in the community in which my grandmother grew up, in Churchpen in Old Harbor, I knew the 2 individuals, 3, who had motor vehicles there. Wayne, who lived at lot 66, Mr. Leon, who lived beside him, and Bibi, a mechanic who lived up the road. 3 people. Now, everybody has a car in that community. And so, the strain on the road surfaces would, of course, exceed the capacity of what the Public Works Department did. And then not just the physical capacity, but the smarts that attended to road maintenance. And that's where I want to go after this break. I want to look into now, okay, what is happening on the road surface in terms of the way material is laid, the way material is laid on the kind of traffic you expect on that roadway, that thoroughfare, and how all of that lends itself to the best design to withstand the pressure that is on the road surfaces as we get closer to home, looking at the alternatives, how we can make roads last longer, how they can be designed better, built better to last longer. We don't have the problem of the potholes that is killing us now on this day in sports and before. More on Lead Story Special Edition. Potholes get the treatment this week.
Save so you can live your best life with your Jen Bank savings. You absolutely can. The time by Jen Bank is
8:30.
What would you do if a date asked you how much you weigh?
Leave. Slap him. Cuss him.
It was going so well until...
Ask him how much his mama weighs.
Oh, we talking about weight, huh? Well, how much your mama weigh?
All new Family Feud.
You ain't got to worry about how much I weigh. You won't be feeling nothing over here.
Hey you know all the people in your business.
You should take advantage of CVM TV's unbeatable small business advertising package. Trust me.
And get your goods and services in front of your customers today.
For $150,000, you get a high-quality professional commercial, plus 20 prime-time commercial spots.
That's massive exposure at a fraction of the cost.
Including on the #1 morning show in Jamaica, Sunrise.
So don't wait. Call us on 658-208-5377 and see your business goals happen right here on CVM Television.
Talking potholes here on CVM's Lead Story. It's a special edition this evening, as we will have on Tuesday evening at the same time, 8 to 9 p.m. and we climax on Wednesday with the minister in studio talking about the work that he and his team are doing. Gentlemen of the panel, I had the pleasure of working at industrial chemical company, the salt factory, as people call it in Spanish Town, the 2 years before I went to university. Best decision I made. It taught me so much. And I had the pleasure of seeing, and I didn't think of it before, the salt that they produce that is used on tables and in bakeries all over the country and all over the region has to go through a rigorous quality control process. Yeah, the lab couldn't miss a beat. Each batch had to be tested to ensure that it conformed with the requisite standards, so you didn't get poisoned when you consumed it, and that it was up to par. I get the impression, I'm throwing this out now, you can respond if you want to take it first or second. I get the impression that roads in Jamaica are, one, either not built or maintained according to any set quality control standard, which is why we have the problems that we do.
Hit the nail on the head. Independent oversight. So the standards and the specifications for road construction and repair are quite rigorous and they're sufficient. David kind of alluded to it earlier. Good designs can easily be created, but what happens in the field is totally different. You know, again, if you don't have the engineer overseeing the contractor, which is the case 99.99% of the times in Jamaica.
Where the engineer doesn't...
in road construction.
Where there's no supervision.
No professional
supervision.
Independent.
Yes.
So not supervision by the person working in NWA, you know.
Yeah.
Because you can understand they possibilities there.
Of course.
Right. Then you're going to have, you're going to get not what you expect, but you're going to get what we have, pothole-ridden roads.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was speaking earlier about a particular road that we're working on, and because we're involved in that particular road, we called for the lab to do testing on the pavement thickness, and we found variances. It was less than it's supposed to be. Can't say that the contractor was happy, but that's my job as an independent engineer, where we're supposed to have 3 inches and 4 inches of asphalt. You know, in some instances he had 2. And so he will have to mill it and make it up. So oversight is important, independent oversight, not oversight by the agency itself. And I want to say that there are many agencies in Jamaica that practice independent oversight.
Yes.
JSF is one of them.
Yes.
You know, they have independent external engineers to ensure the quality of their projects. And this is nothing new.
Yeah.
It's just that NWA needs to follow suit.
And David, the oversight argument is real, isn't it?
Yeah, it is real. You need to have that because it also helps to also, validate the work at the NWA as well, right? Because, I mean, they know what they require, but also when you have an independent eye, then there is less opportunity for compromise, right? And of course, we are seeing cases where, roads are being put down, and for what reason, it may not be the NWA at fault, but some other thing get in between all of that. So it is important to ensure that you have somebody, right, who, from time to time can come in, just like an auditor, right? You can't audit yourself. So you really want that in the mix to assist to ensure that both you can verify that the NWA is doing their job, and that also hold accountable to the contractors accountable to the work.
And is that in a significant way, Colin, responsible for the poor road surfaces that we see time and again being laid out?
Well, I cannot speak for the results that you see.
Yeah.
So obviously, if that oversight isn't there to ensure adherence to the best practices and to the required standards, then obviously you're going to get failure because something did not conform to the standard or the process. You used an analogy earlier of the salt factory, and my specialty really is about processes and finding efficiency in processes. But efficiency is about meeting the expected outcome as well. And we're seeing that failure with the road. So obviously there is something wrong along the line, and the best person to pick it up is that auditor, as David termed it, to ensure that we're getting
value for money
and that we're consistent with the standard across the board.
Dr. Hay, it seems as if the gentlemen in the studio are saying we ought to morph Pamela Monroe Ellis and the Auditor General's team to send them out there to stand with clipboard in hand, hard hat, to give this independent oversight, because the gentlemen in the studio are agreed that what we're seeing where the roads in Jamaica are concerned is the result of a lack of independent oversight to hold contractors to the standard expected in road construction. Are you in agreement?
Well, to some degree, because for the most part, the NWA doesn't really have the personnel or the amount of personnel. They do have the knowledge, but not have the sufficient amount of personnel. One of the main problem, though, is are we assessing these failures? Because when a lot of times the thing perpetuates itself at the same location, and we have a way of going back and doing the same exact thing and think that we're going to get something different. I think one of the problems is assessment of the problem. It could be the water getting below the road into the road subgrade by some capillary action or something that is not obvious to most people. Because water at the end of the day is the main problem with our roads. When it deteriorates the road pavement structure, or it covers the surface. So this is one of the things that we have to ensure that we get the water off properly. A lot of times it's difficult to get the water off, whether there's a drain block or there wasn't sufficient drain design. But for the most part, if we ensure that the roads have proper falls and proper drainages, they will survive much longer. I'm a little hesitant to blame the asphaltic concrete thickness. unless it's a major road that requires that based on the amount of.
But hold on, Dr. Hay. I don't want you to trouble. I don't want you to trouble the asphaltic thickness yet. I'm coming to that singly and immediately after this point. I just wanted to get you on the issue of oversight and its importance, because I want to follow a train and take the viewers along with me. I just want to put to bed the issue of oversight. So you're largely in agreement with what the gentlemen are saying.
Yes, oversight is very, very important.
Yes.
We can't do without it.
Yes. All right. Here's where I'm coming now, gentlemen. And since you started the ball rolling, Dr. Hay, let's go into it. Because what goes into, literally, the materials and the thickness of the material and the consideration for drainage, how is a road constructed in Jamaica in a normal place? I know that there are certain places that have certain peculiarities, certain vagaries, if you may, but in a normal place, what goes into how thick the asphalt should be, what's under the base? Talk to me about that.
Well, it's depends on the location and the type of roads. The pavement is designed to protect the existing soil, which is there. Now, the pavement structure comprised of the asphalt plus the base or sub-base. How you decide to apportion the load in each segment of that pavement structure always come back to the economics issue. Now, asphalt concrete is a very expensive part of the road structure, so we try to minimize that because our natural resources are more abundant. So we try to use a thicker base. I mean, Trinidad, for example, has asphalt lakes and, bitumen. So they can't use 6 inches and 8 inches of asphalt and even 12 inches. We can't afford that. So I'm saying there are times when we just have to use the minimum asphalt that's required for that amount of service load. For the most part, that's what we have to do from a cost perspective. But what used to happen before is that we had a standardized internal thickness that is used throughout. We have to get away from that because we have our way of calculating what is required. But sometimes what happens is that the desire to do more roads than quality roads get into play. And we have to make sure that those decisions are made by technical people and not others in terms of what is really required. So when we have decided, okay, we want us to use the minimum asphalt, which is either 2 inches or 3 inches, depending on the amount of loads, then we can decide what thickness or what type of base material we use. I am suggesting that one of our biggest problems is that we need to use drainable base, not just get marl and throw on it, because the quality of marl is highly variable, has too much fines in it, for the most part. So we need to use crushed harrogate in our base throughout our road structure. I see there, we're doing it mostly on our major roads now, but we need to start using it more on the other roads, the minor roads, where we're having most of the problem and where most of Jamaica is complaining the most.
Let me catch you. So you're saying more crushed aggregate, less marl for the base and sub-base?
For the base.
For the base. Okay.
Now, and they're all limestone original, but when you go to the quarry, you're just getting marl.
Yes.
But if you get the actual limestone rock and crush it to the specification that's required for your base, it allows water to drain through it. And that is a major problem. So any pressure that is built up in the base itself is dispersed, dissipates. And that is one of the problems we have. It doesn't come up into the asphalt.
Yeah. Let me hear you on that, Chris. You wanted to weigh in.
Quality is important, and the crushed limestone that Dr. Hay is speaking about is critical for the drainage and the long-term survival of the road.
Yeah, but stay with me. The crushed limestone and crushed aggregate are the same?
All right, George, this marl, this white dust that is sedimentary in the pothole, it is not suitable.
Yes.
It is not right.
Water.
It is symbolic of a lack of oversight. It have no place in the road.
Yes.
What Dr. Hay is speaking about is crushed 1.5 to 3-inch stones, limestones.
There you go.
Right? In older times, there were 4-inch and 6-inch stones, ballast, as they would call it. So what we're saying is that this dust, this marl dust, that some of these contractors go to their friends who own a marl quarry and they dig up and put in the back of a truck and they use to fill these holes. That's not the right way. And our engineers at NAA know it. All of us as engineers know it. It is not right. The potholes won't last. It's soft. It's plastic.
Yes.
I mean, there's a quality of the marl called plasticity.
Yes.
And we know that it's not value for money. It's not value for money.
And then the properties
are not adequate to last
to drain.
the 15 years that it's supposed to last. And that is why you go back to it in 3 years' time, because it would have failed and formed a rut.
Yeah.
And so it comes back down to value for money, or the lack of value for money when we use this marl dust. What we need is crushed limestone. And the NWA specifications are great. They speak to that base being 1.5 inch minor stones and 3 inch minor stones.
So who supervises what goes into the base?
That's
the oversight issue.
The lack of independent oversight.
The point has come full circle.
Yes.
Right. I'm thinking, you see, you want to design, and Doctor, you understand this, designing a roadway, right? First of all, you need to know what kind of traffic it is on it, how much traffic, and for how long you want the traffic would be on that particular road, right? In terms of the timeline. But also, you have to work with the material that you have, right? The kind of crushed stone that is available, you would have to do your test on it and know what it can provide. And of course, you may have to work from the bottom, come up. What kind of base you're on, subgrade, original material, what kind of sub-base you can put on base on top of that, and then asphalt on top. So essentially, chances are it's difficult to get away with a 2-inch asphalt based on the kind of crushed material that you're putting there. So I agree with the crushed material, right? But it is that what you have to work with those numbers to get your asphalted concrete.
Let's pick up the point after this break. This is a Lead Story CVM TV.
Jamaica's borders is a key priority for the Jamaica Customs Agency. The JCA will remain vigilant and resolute in effectively fulfilling this mandate. The time brought to you by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
8:45.
Jamaica, it's rich! Introducing the Mother's Rewards app. The same mother's food you love, now at your fingertips. Sign up easy and get a free patty. Earn points whenever you visit any select Mother's location and redeem those same points for discounts later on. Order your favorites for pickup or delivery. No long lines. Plus, spin daily to win prizes and discounts. Yes, daily chances to win. No need for say none more. Download the Mother's Rewards app now. Mothers, loving every bite.
Everything reminds you of the king.
When you're craving real flavor, everything reminds you of Burger King, giving you all kind of mouth-watering flashbacks. Then all you can think of is lunch. Give in to a sweet, crunchy barbecue chicken sandwich with its tangy barbecue sauce, crispy onions, or a perfectly made, spicy, flaming cheeseburger, 2 juicy flame grilled patties, screaming hot jalapenos, and melty cheese with medium fries and soda. Stop daydreaming, because taste rules your way at Burger King, the best tasting burger under the sun.
We're discussing the problem of potholes here on Lead Story Prime, and it's the first of a 3-part series. We climax on Wednesday. We have the second installment on Tuesday, and my experts are telling me that what we see as motorists driving daily with work crews filling squares or rectangles with marl and then putting the asphalted concrete over it, they're saying, George, that will never result in anything but a new pothole in short order, especially if it rains, because all that happens is that the water percolates through the asphalted concrete, washes away the marl, then there's a cavern there, then the top of the asphalted concrete collapses, and then you have a hole that gets bigger each time something heavy runs over it. Yeah, I hope you stayed with us from you were with us from the start of the show up to the point, because it is a journey and we took you along till now we're going into the composition of the materials that make the road, so you can understand why the potholes crop up so quickly after the road has been set or reported as being set by the authorities. You were saying to me about a project in Greater Portmore to elucidate the point about the marl base.
So material is important and independent oversight is important. Greater Portmore roads were built with heavy independent oversight. And I remember a particular road where the material all came from a range of quarries. And you could easily get complacent to say, oh, the material that came from the quarry was consistent, which is the case today. Very often you hear, oh, it's coming from that quarry and that quarry passed. There's no such things. veins of material change in quarry, and you can't take it for granted. There are specifications as to how often material is to be tested, and very often they're not followed by some. By some. And I remember this particular road, and the engineer had it tested. I was on that project. I think Carlton was on that project as well. And to the developer's surprise, the material turned out to be plastic. It would look like a good road to the naked eye, but we knew as engineers that the material was plastic and soft.
Yes.
The result was that the contractor was instructed to rip it up, to mix the material with good material, to bring it up to standards. And that road, I know, stands today, almost 30 years later, as testimony of when you build roads properly, they last. The World Bank tells you a good road lasts 5 times longer than a bad road. I drove into the Albion subdivision in St. Thomas yesterday, and I don't think there is one good road in that entire subdivision.
Wow.
The asphalt is less than ½ inch and an inch in a lot of instances. Again, it speaks to oversight and maintenance. Oversight of construction and maintenance.
So if we're agreed, gentlemen, that billions of dollars of taxpayers' money has effectively gone up in Marl, yeah? Or gone down in Marl. What, if anything, has the works agency done over time to ensure that that base material that is dumped in the squares that are cut or on the road surfaces, that it is of the requisite quality and not the plasticky, wash away, easily dispersed or dispersed marl that is not best suited to the kind of roads? Is that kind of testing regime in existence, David? Based on your knowledge?
Based on my knowledge, there is not as strict a requirement for...
But there ought to be.
Right, but there ought to be in terms of the patching of the potholes. Are fixing the potholes. As Chris mentioned earlier, though, in terms of the regular construction, right, that specification would have been, more stringently followed. And in fact, if you mentioned the plasticity, and that speaks to a quality of the material that has clay-like properties. If it's a certain number, it would tell you that you will begin to get shifting in that, right, and a whole set of or stretch of road could be failing because it hasn't met the specification, which means that the specification must be met. But then one of the challenges that I'm facing now is that when we say the pothole problem, we have to understand that the pothole itself would not ever be constructed to come to the quality of the existing road. Right? It is really meant for a temporary solution to something that should come in terms of full rehabilitation of the road. And so when the patching has occurred, in fact, the pothole is, as I said earlier, is reflective of a defect that has occurred well before. You have the raveling, you have cracks, and if you don't meet it at that point, then the potholes happen. And in fact, we know, look in Jamaica, and we say we have craters. So it simply means that the whole matter of maintenance of roads have been abandoned.
So it's a very good point you raised there, David, because here's the other question now. I see people complaining when work was done on Barbican Road between the stoplight at the original Fontana to the Russell Heights stoplight, and even beyond to the Arcadia turn-off stoplight. And people were saying, why are they wasting money fixing that road when there's no pothole there? It goes back to what you were saying, that because it has been patched over time, now is the time for the kind of rehab to ensure that more potholes don't crop up and bigger potholes. Is that the reasoning, Colin?
Yeah, because you get now a consistent surface, right? If you patch a pothole here, another one there, and Carlton alluded to it, if the other conditions aren't satisfied in terms of drainage, etc., and we see the same roads having the same pothole recurring, then obviously you need to do something different. It tells you that you need to look at a wider patch of rehabilitation. Of course, the economics will come in there, and patching the pothole may seem to be the quicker solution, the band-aid solution, but the problem persists. So constant maintenance, proper maintenance, the use of modern tools to predict. Earlier, Chris was mentioning the use of AI to predict where failures will occur or to spot them from early, so that a more intelligent approach to maintenance, preventative approach can be applied so that we capture the problem before it gets out of hand. It's just like human body and medicine.
Yeah.
And you can account for the repairs with the artificial intelligence technology, which is based on your camera, on your phone.
Yeah.
And account for when it is fixed. So you can do it before you patch or before you repair and afterwards, and quantify the amount of work that has been done so you can know what to pay for.
And given my factory experience, I know that there is preventative maintenance and that there's corrective maintenance. And you do preventative maintenance, so corrective maintenance doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. Dr. Hay, let me ask you this one, because as a man who goes to Coronation Market religiously, because I have to know what's happening in the market space, I know that I can set my meter to the intersection of Spanish Town Road and Industrial Terrace collapsing right in the vicinity of the Denham Town Police Station. It happens every other month, every 2 months. They'll patch and then it collapses again. But as Jamaicans say, sewage water, sewage. There's always water there, and you made the water points. I'm coming back to you. The water that is a constant right at that intersection, the overladen trucks that go onto Industrial Terrace from Spanish Town Road and vice versa. It is a recipe for the disaster that has happened at that intersection every other month. And it's no wonder that we have people demonstrating about the condition of the road in that specific vicinity time after time.
Well, as I said, the approach to rehabilitation it has to be location specific. Whenever you have that kind of consistent problem, especially as water related, maybe you have to think of something like concrete roads or possibly stabilizing the base material. Stabilizing means that it might cost a little bit more, but you might need to add cement to the marl or the crushed stone to stabilize it, to get it, make it a more rigid pavement structure that would withstand higher loads, because the more rigid it is, the more it spreads the loads down on the natural material and, prevent. But I wouldn't know, I'm just talking without understanding exactly what the situation is there. I don't know if it's a drainage problem. I don't know if water is ponding in that area.
Well, Dr. Hay, you don't have to know. I can tell you, the water ponds there every time, and the other men say it as well. It is a given. I don't know how the police go through it. My father worked there when he was alive and a policeman, and the problem has been there from I was wee high. Not that I'm much taller than that, but the point is made. So I'm saying it's a persistent problem that demands a kind of approach that you are articulating. That if you try the same thing over and over, gentlemen, and the road collapses after 3-4 weeks, then clearly you have to take a different approach.
Of course. Independent oversight, independent design.
And it's cause and effect, right? We have to investigate, and Carlton has been alluding to it. What is the cause? And you really have to understand. And we see the cause from the surface level. A lot of water in that area, and I work in that area too, so I traverse that road almost daily.
Yes.
Right? So we have to go below and sometimes to correct the problem which is apparent, you have to find the problem that caused that problem.
Yes.
Right? And you have to go and literally, no pun intended, go beneath the surface now and find what the issue is there and repair it. And
but I would say though, that as engineers, we know that if it is, we could put the road on the sea, right? It is not a problem that cannot be solved.
Yes.
Right? It beats me to think that even the NAA or the road authority don't know what to do.
Yes.
The idea is, to me, what will it cost?
Yes.
And we will do it.
Yes.
Right? Because the end of the day is that it is not rocket science.
Yes.
Right? Carlton spoke to the matter of cement stabilized base. It is a known thing, right? You could use that as a part of stabilizing the aggregate to ensure that you have a more rigid, more resistant base to water, right? You could find, and also you mentioned issue of drain, which when you check it in terms of road design, chances are the drain is going to cost as much as the roadway itself. So then somebody's going to back off and say, well, we can't afford that. We're going to make a decision. Otherwise, we're going to just have a pathway from point A to point B, or otherwise we don't have it. If we're going to have it, then we're going to have it without the drain. Right? And so the drains have always been left out of it. Right? Proper drainage because of the cost.
Here's the thing. Diagnosis comes now, prognosis will come come and of course we look at solutions. But the fact is, look, the gentlemen have said it, it's a cost issue as well. If the NWA gets a $6 billion budget for the calendar, for the fiscal year, for the financial year, same thing, yeah? When it needs 30 billion, and the bulk of that 6 billion is going to be used to cover recurrent expenditure, then you can do the math and see how much is left to do the actual work, especially where there is a shortage of project funds to undertake the kind of heavy lifting that needs to be done where the road surfaces are concerned. It is a perennial problem, but the guests are united is on a problem that is impossible to fix. All right, that's my time. Join me here tomorrow evening, same time, 8 o'clock, for episode 2, installment 2 of Lead Story Prime, looking at potholes in Jamaica. Thanks to the gentlemen for making the show a great one.